Welcome back. In today's video, we are going to be learning the ledger lines above and below the staff. In our previous video, you already learned the staff and the one ledger line above and below the staff. Today, we are going to be learning two ledger lines above the staff. You already know the ledger lines. Ledger lines are extra lines that are not part of the staff. So your staff has 5 lines and 4 spaces. Any other lines below and above the staff are called the ledger lines. Now, let's see how to count the ledger lines below or above the staff. You can recall that we said this is your E, G, B, D, and F, and the space inside you have your F, A, C, and the E. You can count below. Already, you know that this is E, and before your E is your D in the space, and then the first ledger line below the treble clef is your C. That's your C. Then below it, count your alphabet backward. You have your C, then you have your B, and then this will give you your letter A. And then below this, you can still count below. So below this, you have your G in the space. If you wish also to add more ledger lines, you can have this as your F. So you have F, G, A, B in the space, then your middle C, D in this space, then your E, then you count up. And then for the ledger lines above the star, you have your F. The space will give you your G. After your G comes your A, right? So G, this is the first ledger line above the star, will be your A. The space will be your B, and the second ledger line will be your C. So when you're playing instruments that requires ledger lines, it is typically easy and simple to read your ledger lines. So it's either you count backward in steps or you can skip. And at some point, by the time you get to know it, you may not even necessarily need to count. So for instance, I can count my ledger line as already I know my 5th line is F. I skip up to A and then to my C. Or you skip down from E to C, skip down from C to your A, and then skip down from A to F. So understanding the ledger lines are not something too difficult to understand if you already know your lines and spaces. So let's do the same thing for the bass clef. For the bass clef, we already established that you have your lines as G, B, D, F, and A. So if you have 2 ledger lines above or below the staff, same thing applies. Skip down. Like I said there, I can skip down and I have this as my E. Skip down, you have this as your C. So in between it, before the G, you have the F, the E on the first ledger line below it, then this will be your D in the space, and then your C. So also, same applies to your to your bass clef. A is the top line of the bass clef. The space above it will be your B. The first ledger line, which is your middle C. You remember that one of our videos we established that middle C, not all ledger lines are middle C. I've seen people said you have the ledger lines are C. No. The first ledger line below the treble clef is your middle C. And it's the same as the first ledger line above the bass clef. So you have your C, the space above the ledger line will be your D, and then the second ledger line will be your E. In one of our videos, you will see the correlations between these ledger lines. That is how you can write in between the staff and the note here, where it is in the bass clef and the like. So we'll do that in the next video. So to sum up, ledger lines are easy to be read, and mostly, when you have high notes or low notes on your instrument to be played, or high notes or low notes written for vocal music, you are meant to quickly see the notes or see the ledger lines and know the notes or pick the notes as you see it. So your good level of understanding for the staff will determine how you can quickly pick it, and you can read it in skips or step. I hope this is clear. Well done. All right, up next, we're going to be looking at the correct clefs to make name notes. So in music theory examinations, sometimes at this level, they ask you to name notes and put the correct clefs. How do we go about this? For instance, these notes are E, B, and E, different pitch. And they ask you, add clefs to make these notes this E. How do you ascertain the clef to be placed at the beginning of this note? So far, we have learned about two clefs, the treble clef, which you also call the G clef, and the bass clef, or you call it F clef. Now, you have to place it somewhere and understand that the placement of these clefs would determine the names of these lines and spaces. For instance, I decide to put my bass clef there. Remember, we said that the lines of the bass clef are good boys, does fine always. That means this has changed this. Then this will be an error. If I put the treble clef at the beginning, then it names it correctly. Then I have every good boys does fine. So this is my E, then this is my B, then spaces F, A, C, E. So let's have some exercises together with this. If I place my treble clef here, it will name this as E, G, B, D, F. So this will be B. So treble clef will be the wrong one. But let's place the bass clef. Then it will turn this to G, B, D. So which will be correct. Let's put a treble clef here. It turns this to F, the spaces to F, A, C, E. F, A, C, E. So this will be treble clef, which makes it correct. Let me put a bass clef here. Then it will turn this to A, C, E, which will be the wrong one. Let's correct it with the treble clef. Then this will be F, A, C. Now, if I put the bass clef here, it will give you G, B, which will be the wrong one. Then if I put the treble clef, then it turns this to E, G, B, D, F. Then this will be bass clef. The lines are G, B, D, F, and A. So when you are naming the clefs in theory of music, think of the clefs before the lines and spaces of the clef, because any clef you put or you place at the beginning of that note names the lines and spaces, and you have to check it to be sure that it's the right clef for that question. I hope that's easy for you. Next, we are going to learn to write notes on different clefs. That is, transfer notes from the treble clef to the bass clef, or from the bass clef to the treble clef. To do this is super easy, and this is one of the easiest topics in the music theory. The first thing to understand in doing this is to understand what we call the middle C. The middle C is a factor to consider in transferring notes from one clef to another. Now, let's say for instance, fortunately this music starts with your middle C. Remember previously also we have discussed that middle C is intermediary between the treble clef and the bass clef. They are it's actually the unifying factor or element between the treble clef and the bass clef. So your middle C is the first ledger line below the treble clef, and it is the same ledger line but the first ledger line above the bass clef. So this middle C is middle C also for bass clef, so you have it as super easy. So the first ledger line below the treble clef, and it is the same ledger line above the bass clef, so you have it as this middle C. Then from there, you can count up or down to the next notes. So here you have this as G, C, D, E, F, G. Always remember to say this when you are doing this topic. The note I'm having here, is it above? Ask yourself that question. above or below the middle C. So this is G above the middle C. So I'm going to count from my middle C of the bass clef to the G above the middle C, and then you are going to have what we call the ledger lines. Remember previously we talked about ledger lines some few seconds ago. So you have G above the middle C. So first thing to do is to put in your middle C ledger line, then count on, this is C, D in the space, E on the ledger line, second ledger line, F in the space above it, then I have the G. So this is the G. And there you have 3 ledger lines. Let's see, this is F above the middle C. So I'll go from my middle C to D in the space, second line as my E, then F in the space. Next is my E above the middle C. There I will go middle C first, D in the space, then E. There you have that. Then the last one here, this is my D above middle C. Fortunately, all these notes in this example are above middle C. If you have note below the middle C, just say this note is below middle C. So you come to middle C and check that note below it. So you have C, G, F, E, D. C, G, F, E, D. So also you have this as C, G, F, E, D. Remember that just some minutes ago we learned about ledger lines, and that is what is coming to play here. So for you to understand the transfer of this, you have to get a good knowledge of the ledger lines. Now let's transfer from the bass clef down to the treble clef. The same rule applies. Same rule applies. Now this is my G, and this G is below the middle C. So the first thing to do is to draw your middle C and say, this, what do I have here? That's my G. G below the middle C. So I'll draw my middle C, then space below will be my B, second ledger line, A, and then below it is my G. The next one is my middle C. So I have my C here. Then here you have your A. A what? A below the middle C. So I have my C, B below it, then the second ledger line will be my A. Then here I have D above my middle C. So you have your D, start with your middle C, above the middle C. Take note of this place, because it's above the middle C. Do you know you don't need the first ledger line middle C? Just say my D. So you can tidy this up together, right? Then this is my B below middle C. I have my middle C here. So B below middle C, then finally middle C, then the dot. I need to also bring this to your notification that when you write, anytime they give you work to do like this, everything there you have to transfer, including your time signature or key signature, what have you. For instance, you have your etc. Just write etc. In the case of examination, it is important for you to, transfer everything given to you. So you will now notice that if you play this on any instrument or you sing it, it's at the same pitch you have this. So you transfer this at the same pitch. Subsequently, you are going to know how to transfer this maybe an octave higher or a tone higher, or transfer for an instrument or the other. Maybe subsequently in my subsequent video, you will see that. But this is at the exact pitch. So when you are looking for the exact pitch, the first thing to do is to look for your middle C and ask yourself, the note I'm transferring, is it above or below the middle C? And then you'll be fine. I hope this is easy to do. Great job. So at the end of this video, make sure you try to attend to the exercises and see if you can lay your hands on them. Well done.